Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. So, as you know, we do have our office hours. The LDs are here for you. Um, so, right now, these are my office hours, and I know it's very difficult to always try to reach out because you have so much going on, and we appreciate everything that you are doing. So, we thought it might be easier just to send out some useful information. And whenever you get a moment, if it's useful to you or you feel it's useful to you, then you can just click on the video and watch it whenever you do have a chance. So this week we're going to do present levels. IEP season is upon us, so we're going to do kind of goals and objectives to go with those present levels and what we're looking for. I know we kind of met in the beginning of the year for PD to go over the direction that the district is moving. As you know, we had a meeting with the district's lawyer, and he kind of updated us on what is the expectations. And it's really a good thing that we're doing this. It's really making the IEP more individualized and definitely more measurable. So this is just a little tutorial. If you have any questions or really a refresher of everything we kind of already went over, please do not hesitate to reach out to any of the LDs to help you with this moving forward. Um, we are all here for you. So, as you know, the present levels of the IEP is the complete backbone of the IEP. In there, you want to make sure that you are specific as possible. You want to open up, obviously, with something positive about the student, but then you do want to get into the individual weaknesses and as to why they require special education. Um, Once you mention that weakness, you want to make sure that we are addressing it via a goal and objective. So every weakness that you mention has to have a corresponding or matching goal and objective to address that specific weakness. Do not worry if the goals and objectives do not match the curriculum. It's okay. That's the reason why they're in special education. It's already kind of understood that they're being exposed to the standards in the curriculum, so they do not have to correlate with that. These are really just the gaps and the weaknesses as to why they're in special education and the instruction they would need in order to close that gap to get them into that regular education setting. So you want to be in the present levels, as I said, as specific as possible. So for example, in reading, what level are they reading on? If you don't feel comfortable doing letters, especially in the middle school and as they get older, you can definitely do grade levels as to where they are or what specifically is the weakness in reading. Is it decoding? Is it the comprehension? Is it the fluency? So we kind of have a better feel of what we need to work on. Math, same thing. What is getting in their way? Is it basic recall facts? Is it understanding the word problems when they're reading it? Or is it just understanding concepts? Whether, some kids don't understand algebra, it gets a little bit more confusing. So what is it about that they're not understanding? So that's what you want to do with the present levels. And then additionally, you also want to talk about what they benefit from, and then those go into your modifications. So that is why the present level is the actual skeleton of the entire IEP. So going into the goals and objectives, as you can see here, I have a screen up here. I kind of already started on this page. I don't want anybody to see names. So that is why I'm already over here, but just picked a random standard. As we know, real time does not have the best goals because, for example, key ideas and details, it's not a goal. It's just words, phrase. There's not even a name in it. So that's what we're going to have to kind of work around. So there are some ways that you don't necessarily have to go right into free typing and reinventing the wheel. You can still use this as a library, but you're just going to have to edit it a little bit. So I'm going to show you how to do that if you want to continue using these. So I just picked a random one. I did reading standards. I'm going to go to key idea details. And then I am going to go to this. When I go to select goals, it's going to upload eventually. There we go. Okay, so we have the standard there, which is great. But once again, key ideas and details is not a goal. A lot of the times, it's funny, the objective sounds more like a goal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this objective here, cut that out, remove this up here, and then paste the objective up here. I'm also going to add the student's name because it's important that you are specific. So I'm going to call him Mark. So Mark will ask and answer questions to demonstrate understanding of a text. You don't even need to put this, but what I am going to ask is that you talk about on what level. Believe it or not, we have parents that do not understand what level their child is on, even if it's in the present levels. They think that their child is above where they really are, or vice versa. They're really below where they really are. So where are you going to be working on this comprehension? On their independent level, which may be an M, which is 3 grades below. You can even say the actual grade level. So if this student, for example, is in 5th grade, and you want to make it very clear that you're going to be working on comprehension, but it's going to be on a grade level that's their independent reading level. So you could say, Mark will answer questions to demonstrate understanding of a text on a 3rd grade reading level. You can even change this and you can say on M. If you don't want to put the actual number grade, you can actually put the letter grade, letter that they're reading on, the level. So you can say which is their independent reading level, just so they know and it's very clear. Now, the objective is what are the strategies or what are you going to do for the instruction to get them to their goal? So this is kind of off the top of my head, so these are not the best, so I apologize in advance. But you could say, Mark will use visualization strategies. Okay, so it's very short, but so the due date is always going to be by the end of the IEP because that definitely helps us with ESY, so we know what's happening with that. Condition, a lot of times I do need a verbal prompt or cue, and that's okay. I'm going to do 80% accuracy because 80% is considered proficient, and I'm going to do that. Now, it's important that you have the condition and criteria because that's how it's going to be measurable. So, for example, you just want to stay away from accuracy if you're doing any kind of behavioral things. Just to FYI, if you're doing any kind of behavioral goals, attention and focusing goals, stay away from the accuracy because that's really hard, obviously, to measure. But this, I can say, out of 10 times, if I ask them to read text and I told them to talk me through what they're doing for visualization, well, what does the boy in the book look like? Well, what color's his hair? Things like that. And you're using those strategies. Is he doing that 8 out of 10 times? So it's kind of a little bit easier to measure. Once again, it's not the best objective right now, but it's Friday morning. Another thing to do is Mark will chunk his reading. And ask himself to identify the main idea. I spelled that wrong, sorry. And read details. Okay. So that is another one. You can just hit add. And then what's great about this is you can just hit copy as long as it works. If you feel that it's appropriate, you can just hit copy here and it will put in all the other information. And I'm going to add one more. You don't necessarily need 3 objectives. Like for each student, you only really need about 2 goals, and for each one or 2 to 3 objectives. You don't need a lot of things. And if you have a really super low student and you said, well, there's tons of weaknesses, just focus on what that student is going to need at that given time. Okay, so what are we going to work on currently? There's no way we're going to be working on a million things. And if that student surpasses everything and it's January, that's amazing. Talk to the case manager. We'll update the IP to add some more goals, and vice versa. If we set the bar a little too high, which it is very good to have high expectations for our students, but sometimes we can overshoot and that's okay. And the student may have been absent a lot that year, or the behaviors were impeding, or there was something in the classroom that was very distracting to that student. You can then, once again, talk to that case manager. Let's update the IEP. You do not want these goals and objectives to be the same for the following year. So you don't want to say, you know what, I didn't get to this one, and this one this year. I'm just going to repeat it to move it on for next year. You want to make sure that the parent and the case manager are very aware that due to A, B, or C, we are unable to get to this goal, so I updated the goals. And that the case manager can absolutely amend that and we'll document that. And then we can change the goals to make it more reachable and attainable for that student. Okay, so here Mark will chunk his reading and paraphrase what he read. Okay, add, copy, 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 and then you're going to go to save and close. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to save in this kid's IEP. So that is how you can already use the bank that real-time gives you. Once again, you're just taking the objective and kind of moving it up to the goal. You just don't want your goal to be random phrases like key ideas and details. Then what you can do, if you have a goal that's not listed, is you can go to free type and you can free type additional goals. So first you got to select the standard. Just be careful what it's listed under. But let's say, same thing, you're doing foundational skills for reading. Okay, then here you can type the actual goal and same thing, the objective, due date, condition criteria, and the measurement, how you're going to do that. If you want to add an additional objective, you just click here and then you can save and return and it will be there. You can talk to your school's LD and see what you guys are doing. What are we doing in my schools? I'm at Eastbrook and at Parkway. What we are doing is we are creating a Google Doc and everybody's kind of uploading some really awesome goals that they are coming up with and objectives and plugging it into that doc. And then everybody can share it and see it and say, oh, I really like this library. And it kind of is our own little bank. So that's something that you can do. You can do one for yourself just to have that you can always refer back to. If you're like, oh, you know, I really like how I said that. Let me save this and kind of just make your own bank to refer to as well. So those are some ways to do it. If there's anything else that you may need, please do not hesitate to reach out. And best of luck. And thank you for listening.